Hey, what's happening, everyone? Aaron Jackson here with the Rotation Report. This is not financial advice, liquidity management edition. That's right. We got the Fed cut, and then they got the little program where they said they're going to manage the liquidity. And I know some people are thinking, like, QE. Well, that's true. That's true. Maybe. But, when the Fed is trying to manage their liquidity, we need to manage our liquidity because the market's going to push back. The market's like going to be like, "Hey, what's this? What's this? You got some liquidity issues? All right, let's see how far you're gonna, what next steps you're gonna take." And it wouldn't be surprising if in a couple weeks we're just right back where we were with most of these growth assets, kind of big lists. But we'll see about that. First things first, right? And first up, we've got Bitcoin. Oh boy, it looked like a bearish consolidation into the Fed. It's starting to resolve lower a little bit. And if you want to say it's just going to completely take out new lows, well, then the target area is 72K right here. We got 72K, which is interesting because we're all talking about the 75 area looking pretty good. This March, April low. And then 72 is kind of the top of the 2024 base. So that would be a real nice little flush out area there. Good area to cover some shorts. Next up would be Solana. Interestingly, with the whole market rally, this thing never got above the 1 month moving average. So that's pretty weak, right? But the question is, are we really pressing shorts here on a push lower below 120? It's a real kind of thick support zone here, big time, big time. So, I'm not shorting the whole, but, definitely want to keep an eye on, no doubt about that. And that we've talked about Bitcoin versus Ethereum. How about this? It looked like a breakdown last week, but Bitcoin relative to Ethereum, it's starting to outperform a little bit. Ethereum's pretty weak. Kind of interesting. We fully expect it to roll over, but, keeping an eye on it, no doubt. And then, you've got the micro strategies, the Bitcoin standard corporations with the own B ETF. And again, you got the top at 27 and, 20 would be the target there. And that's kind of right at the April low. So you get maybe 72K in your Bitcoin, 20 in your own B. And that's a real interesting area on the long side. But hey, the last buy attempt in MicroStrategy just failed today. So, we'll see if this bleeds over into tech. We got the retest of the key extension area here into the Fed selling off. Now testing the 50-day moving average. And where does it go from here? That's a good question. That's a good question. But I did want to point out that NASDAQ 100 versus gold, which is, if you think about it just holistically, it's just, the biggest cash flowing companies in the world versus the debasement trade. Still holding this key kind of breakdown area here, right around here, still holding up nicely. So definitely one to watch into the new year, but so far so good, even though a lot of flows into the precious metals. And then semiconductors, it was the same thing as the NASDAQ 100, except for it was strong post-Fed. And then you got the test before the selling. And the one thing I actually reshot this video just to talk about this Broadcom. So you go through the Broadcom call and it's pretty good. Numbers are great. They say, it's been, things are accelerating as strong as they've ever been. They're talking about bookings accelerating in all their networking gear. And I quote, "We've never seen bookings of the nature that we have seen over the past 3 months." And then, wow, that's pretty good. But look at this reaction. So guess who that customer was that's pumping up their order book? Let us all guess. Yeah, probably OpenAI. So they have the OpenAI exposure, which is basically a scarlet letter for a freaking tech company these days. This is pretty nasty. I don't know. The thing we've seen with the fundamentals, the orders or whatever, the backlogs looking good. And then this kind of price action, pretty gnarly, pretty concerning, but open gap there. Wouldn't be surprised to see it get filled at some point, but yikes, definitely a yikes. But then you look at my Mag 7 relative strength and look at that. Is that at the top of the momentum high from last year, or is that a base? Every day it's starting to look a little bit more like it's a base that's going to head higher. So definitely keeping an eye on that one. And then you've got high beta versus low vol. And it's basically, the Fed pivoted, right, a month ago, right around Thanksgiving, whatever, and ever since then, it was just bang, high beta over low volatility every single day. Now, of course, that's like going to lead you to some selling no matter what around here. So we'll just see how much is given back. You give back a little bit more than this, it's fine, but, keeping an eye on it. But like you're going to have some retracement after that massive move. And then speaking of, big breakout in the equal weight S&P 500 RSP, look at that thing holding up here. Just a minor breakout so far, but still holding up flat on the day when there's a pretty big de-risking going on in the growth. You like to see that. Industrials, XLI, it had that little fake breakout a month ago, and then now back to new highs and just kind of consolidating while there's a de-risking going on in the market. You like to see that. But then it gets questionable here. Cybersecurity is at a top in the cybersecurity stocks. It could be. It could be going to be interesting around the 7170 area. We'll see. We'll see. Kind of, you would think logically, you'd think it holds in there, given how AI is really just good for helping hackers, But time will tell. And we've got CrowdStrike here. Look at that. Lost the breakout post November sell off, whatever. Retest of the key level around 520. Failure. Yeah, looks like a top to me. Looks pretty gnarly, pretty nasty there. So, definitely keeping an eye on that. Google hanging in there pretty good, actually continues to hold the 21-day moving average after that gapping up a month ago, doing the best it can to hang in there, right? Everybody wants to own that thing into the end of the year. And then we've got silver, another one. You take out the new high, and now it's just kind of consolidating sideways during this little de-risking period. I don't know. Silver's been all right, trading fine, but the stocks look pretty good at this point. And then big move today, the sell-off in energy. A lot of talk about China's economy being weak, and boy, China stocks have not been acting great. Asian stocks, we got some Asian growth stocks that are, boy, they've been a pain in the ass this year. We'll get into it in a moment, but oil services has been chugging along, working higher, basically since the April low. So can it continue? I mean, this is about as thick a resistance as there is for pretty much the rest of the way up here. But, top of the old base here. We'll definitely keep an eye on a few of these things. And then we've got a few of these names, Suncor Energy, one of them, a Canadian energy producer. You have this big, level around 41, 43, and now you pop above it. Now what? Is this whole thing just going to give back and roll over? It might. A couple of these energy stocks have been acting, these producers have been acting a little more questionable than you'd like to see, but I think we have to remain bullish until, proven wrong. And then next up, we've got American Electric Power Utility, AEP, kind of holding up on this pivot. It's been a nice little drawdown in the group. There could be some more room lower in the ETF XLU, but this thing holding up right where you'd want to see it for now. So very interesting area there as we're kind of looking for like more boring stocks, I think, if that's what we've got going on with these, liquidity issues in the coming weeks. That just might be what we want to do. And then next up, going through some of these old charts, wanted to throw a few of these in here. How about Open Door? Man, it's still kind of holding up here. Are we waiting on some Trump initiative on the housing? It's interesting that's holding this pivot. Keeps bleeding out, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Maybe there's a housing initiative coming. And then there's Novo Nordisk. Look at this loser. Look at this year-to-date tax loss sale candidate. Who doesn't want to puke out of this thing? If you've been long this thing, screw it. Buy it back in January, whatever. Nice fake breakdown here around 45, 47. Simple area to shoot against. Maybe it can base out here and turn it around. Why not? Why not? And then, yes, the worst trades we could have put on this back half of this year might just be these, Asian tech stocks like your Coupang, I guess Amazon of Korea or whatever. But look at this thing, just had the nice little pivot break, working higher, 200-day test, and then lost it. And, all of the bad things on earth happen below the 200-day moving average. So no thanks on this one. Going to need to see that reclaimed. And then, you know, we're looking for new ideas into 2026. Well, how about India? No one's talking about India, one of the fastest growing, biggest emerging markets in the whole world. Check out this thing just holding up around the 200-day moving average here, trying to kind of like base out above the prior base. Looks kind of interesting, doesn't it? Maybe India is just a nice little group trade into next year. And then, how about this pharmaceutical ETF? My God, does it want to break out? Does it not want to break out? Apparently, the breakout's holding here. If we just go on the weekly there, kind of interesting. But I was keeping an eye on this Gilead Sciences. It was a top for me. They have a lot of different gene therapies in play and stuff like that, and been liking it all year. But check this out. Unable to really hold above that 2015 high here. Kind of a fake breakout here. And you can see 119, upper one teens, real key level. And you look at the RSI, it's kind of like a bearish consolidation on the RSI. So, this is definitely one we liked before. But, when the facts change, well, what do you do? What do you do? You kind of have to change your mind here. And we are really close to changing our mind. Some bad news could be coming down the pipe, some risk, real close to being in play here. And so that'll do it for me. And I just wanted to say, if you like the video, do me a favor and like the video. And by the way, thanks for hitting the like button. The views to like numbers are really good, and appreciate you guys. And if you keep doing it, I'll keep doing the videos. And until next time, everyone, y'all have a great day.